to you about the thing or the city that I love the most, Malmö, but I also want to talk about how we are trying to create, by using shared mobility, more of shared space for those who live within our city. As we know, this is the big question for every city around the world. How we use our space will also set the terms for how our citizens will live and thrive in our city in the future. And how we use the space. If we want to use the space for cars and the infrastructure of cars, or we want to use the same space for living, for working, for leisure, that will set the terms for the future and how our cities will develop. In 2013, we set a quite ambitious goal. We thought it was very ambitious, that in 2030, only 30% of every journey taken in Malmö will be done by car. The rest of the journeys will be taken by public transporting, by bicycle or walking. Now, already in 2024, we almost achieved those goals that we set originally for 2030. Today, 68% of every journey taken in Malmö is taken by public transport, by bicycle or by walking. So we are already there. And now we are going to set new goals for 2030, higher, more ambitious than we set back in 2013. We have achieved this by having a clear idea, a clear hierarchy when we do the infrastructure and street layout. We always start with the area for the pedestrians and for bicycles, for the public transport and for the goods. Then, after doing all that, we create a space for the cars, but not the other way around. This means that everyone knows who are going to develop new living areas in Malmö, where to start and where the priorities of the city are when we are planning our infrastructure. Back in 2017, we signed what's called in Sweden the Big City Package. This is an agreement between the state, the regional level, who in Sweden are responsible for public transporting, and the municipality. The idea from the government was to create incentives for the municipality to decrease the high demand of new living in Sweden. And incentives from the government to the municipalities to create these new living areas were to invest and pay 50% of all the infrastructure in our public transporting and 25% of all the infrastructure for bicycles. In Malmö, this means that the agreement that we have until 2030 is that we create 27,000 new residents. In return, we get the Malmö Pendulum, the railway line within the city. That means that people who live in Malmö can go by train to reach most of our areas, combined with 4 new lines for express buses and, of course, electrification of all public transports in Malmö. Add to that 27 kilometers of new lanes for bicycles. So those who move into the new residence will have new public transporting and new bicycle lanes and new infrastructure where they live, instead of new parking spaces. This map shows the different areas where the new residents will be developed and already are developed. As you can see, most of this area follows the railway line, the Malmö pendulum, and some other areas are reached by new express lines. The change that we are in is about this. Today, you need to own your own vehicle to use the infrastructure. It's been this way since public transporting and the cars were invented in our society. We needed to own our car to use the streets. If we didn't, we could use the bus. But it was always on the car's terms. If you want to use a bicycle lane, you need to own a bicycle. The future is not about owning a vehicle. The future is about owning your mobility. The infrastructure and the vehicle will be the same thing. Today, perhaps it's a rain day. You use either public transport or your shared car. If it's sunny, you don't have that far distance between where you live and your workspace. You perhaps will use a shared bicycle or a shared scooter. In either way, you only need to own your mobility. You don't have to own your vehicle. Every journey will be taken with a vehicle that you don't need to own, that you only need to share on an infrastructure that we already are sharing with each other. To achieve this, we need to create a new set of norms. Before, it was quite normal for those who wanted to develop a new living area that they made a space for, of course, the houses, but also made a space for the cars. Now we're, thanks to the big city package, now we are planning for new residential areas near the public transport without any parking spaces. Instead, those who live there will be offered free public transport or shared mobility. And the most positive thing with this is not only that we use the space in a more and better way, we also get lower cost for our houses. Those who live there will no longer pay for an empty parking space. They only pay for the apartment they are living in. And this is, of course, a big benefit. And with this, we are trying to create this new infrastructure for our shared mobility. Today, the city owns a company called Parking Malmö. They own parking houses all over the city with empty parking spaces. This Parking Malmö will be turned into Mobility Malmö, where you as a resident can go in and find whatever vehicle you need to, which is shared, not owned by private persons. It's shared between you and your neighbors. Combine this with mobility hubs around the city, as they have done in Germany, Holland, or Paris, or France. We get a new ecosystem for mobility, a shared ecosystem for mobility, where you, as I said before, don't have to own the vehicle, you only need to share it. And this also means that we can transform our city once again. This is Leonsborgsgatan in Malmö, an area planned in the late 1960s. As you can see, the infrastructure for the car takes a lot of space. We can use that space in a new way.